Hey everyone, in this video today I'm going to use a new feature of OpenBOM released in April of 2021, which will allow me to calculate the demand for sub-assembly, mid-level assemblies when I have some of the assemblies already made and on the shelf, and other assemblies maybe need to be built, and by the way, they've got some common parts and they have some uncommon parts. So in the last release, we demonstrated how we could build a bill of material, create an order, and release that order to production, and OpenBOM would put that quantity on hand, essentially on the shelf for you. So here I've got a valve 1 that I built in our last release, and I have 3 of those on the shelf, kind of ready to go. So I also have my new design in CAD where I'm going to use valve 1, and then I've also got a new valve 2, which is in all sense almost identical to valve 1. It has a couple of different bits and pieces, but they use a lot of the same parts. And in my new design here also I have a manifold. So I've gone to my CAD system. I've got a valve 1, which I know I have some on the shelf. I've got valve 2, which I need to build because it's kind of a variant, and I've got a manifold. So I'm ready to build the bill of material for that. So in OpenBOM, I click the BOM button and I build the bill of material for the top level assembly. All good so far. Let's take a look at what our BOM looks like. We've got valve 1. I know I need 1 of those, and I've got 3 on hand. Okay, then that came in from OpenBOM after I built that BOM. Valve 2, I know I need 1 of those also, but I know that I have none on hand, so I'm going to have to build some of those. So let's kind of examine this a little bit further. I know that in valve 1, and I want to focus on a particular item as we go through this exercise. We want to look at these bolts. There's 4 of them for each valve body. They bolt the 2 valve bodies together. So valve 1 has 4 of these bolts right here. Valve 2 also has 4 of those bolts. Same bolt. So that's a common thing between valve 1 and valve 2. And as a matter of fact, I can see that by looking at using the flatten feature in OpenBOM, which is awesome. And that tells me, hey, look, I know that I need 1 valve 1, I need 1 valve 2, but hey, I need 8 of these screws because they're common between both of those things. Okay, so I got a pretty good feeling about that, and so I've got my bill of material ready for my top level assembly, and I'm going to take an order. So I've created an order for 2 units, and that order looks like this. That order says, hey, look, I know that I need some valve. I need some valve 1. It looks like I'm going to need, I'm going to need 2 of those, and I'm going to need valve 2. I'm going to need 2 of those. But OpenBOM knows that I have 3 on hand for valve 1, and I also have none on hand for valve 2. So now it starts to get the calculation starts to get a little complicated. But I've got common parts between each. Some are on the shelf. Some I need to order maybe to complete this build and build those valve 2s. Okay, so beginning in April of 2021, OpenBOM will properly allocate and calculate how many screws I need, for example, based on using some items off the shelf and based on the need to order some parts for valve 2 and build those in-house. I know as I look at my BOM that, let's look at this in multi-level, that since I have 3 on hand for valve 1, I don't need to order anything for valve 1. So none of these parts in valve 1 will appear in my POs for this order because I have 3 valve 1s on the shelf. Now valve 2 is another story. I know that I need to order enough parts for valve 2 to make 2 of them. Okay, so kind of returning back to my order, and let's focusing again on those screws. I see that OpenBOM properly calculates the quantity gap for these screws as 7, and the reason for that is that I know there's no gap, there's no demand coming from valve 1. We just determined we already have valve 1s on the shelf. For valve 2, I know that I need to build 2 of those. Each one of those valves has 4, so my quantity for that is going to be 8 required. And then finally, I know that I have 1 screw on the shelf, so my final calculated quantity gap is going to be 7. So I wanted to focus on that screw because it was common and fairly simple between those two. And you can imagine as these levels expand and how those more parts get involved, how that can become quite complicated to calculate, especially if you're trying to do it in Excel. So all that's left for me to do now is just press the create update purchase orders, and I see, for example, this one's coming from Granger, and when I do that, I'll get a Granger purchase order, and when I look at this at that screw, I'll see that quantity gap there is 7. So, quickly to recap, I modeled my design in my CAD system and built a BOM, and then from my BOM, I understood what my quantity on hand and my demands were. I created an order, and then based on that order quantity, OpenBOM did the final calculation for me, taking into account sub-assemblies that we're going to consume those parts that may already be on the shelf, as well as sub-assemblies that need to be created, and then finally any quantity on hand that happens to already exist. So I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear from you on this at support@openbom.com. Thanks.